Under 1,000 lights and a wall of sound, a boy in the front row raises a white envelope above his head. It is small against the stage, small against the name everyone is shouting, but his hands do not shake. He is 9 years old. His name is Jimmy Hale. Beside him stands Nora, 7, clutching a folded newspaper like a passport to a country she has never seen. 2 nights earlier, at St. Augustine's Home for Children, what the kids call the house of echoes, Jimmy found a photograph in those old papers used to line the art tables. A man in a gold jacket rode a wave of faces, singing as if the truth was something you could pour from a lantern. Jimmy didn't know the songs. He knew only the look on that man's face. I am here, I am loud, and I am reaching for you. A rumor carried itself into the laundry room on the steam. The tour buses would pass Moore's lot at dusk. Jimmy and Nora did not plan. They moved. Fence rattled. A bell rang for supper and no one turned back. At the lot, the air crackled. Teenagers swayed in their best shirts. A guard walked a slow line as if time were a dog on a leash. The first bus coughed out cases and cables. The second bus opened with a heavy sigh. When the crowd surged, the guard looked away and Jimmy slipped forward, Nora gliding after him like a shadow that refused to be quiet. They reached the rope. The stage lights warmed the steel of the microphone. Jimmy held up the envelope higher. Nora whispered, "He has to see it." There was no letter inside that envelope. Nora had taken it from the office where blank hope lived in stacks, but she believed you could rename hope until it answered. The band struck a chord. The man in the gold jacket stepped into the light, hand raised to shield his eyes. He scanned left, scanned right, and stopped. A spotlight lifted, skated over the floor, and caught the envelope until it glowed like a small moon. In a sea of faces asking to be seen, he found one asking to be read. And the boy did not look away. The music eased into a hush. The singer crouched at the edge of the stage. Up close, his jacket shimmered, not like riches, but like a river that had learned to carry light. He reached down. Security cleared space. Hands lifted Jimmy first. Nora. Second, feet searching for a solid square of painted wood. "What have you got there, son?" His voice was warm enough to melt the edges of fear. "A letter," Jimmy said. "For me, for whoever can help." The singer weighed the envelope in his palm. It was almost nothing. He opened it under the lights and found nothing at all. He smiled. "Best kind," he said into the microphone. "Blank page means we can write it together." The laughter that rose from the crowd was gentle, the kind that leaves a railing against your back so you won't fall. "What's your name?" "Jimmy Hale." "And you?" "Nora. We're from St. Augustine's." Something changed in the singer's eyes, as if a match had been struck in a room no one else could see. He nodded to the band. "Soft in A." Brushes whispered across the snare. The steel guitar bent a note and held it like a hand. Jimmy leaned into the microphone, but words were too big. He hummed instead, a thin, brave line finding a place to stand. The band found him and built a small house around that sound. Nora pressed the envelope to her chest. Then she looked up and said it all in one breath. "We don't need money for candy, we need beds." Silence spread through the room like clear water poured into a bowl. The singer turned to the crowd. "Friends, we're going to pass some hats," he said. "Not for me, for St. Augustine's, for beds." Hats flew and floated and circled back, heavy with bills and coins and notes that said things like, "For their backs, for the roof that cries." Backstage, hats became small mountains. A manager pinched the bridge of his nose and muttered about counting later and publicity never. A knock on the door cut through the noise. A woman in a raincoat stood there, water dripping from the brim of her hat. She was small as a pine cone and twice as tough. "I didn't come for autographs," she said. "I came to bring them back." "Thank you for letting them be brave," the singer answered. "Tomorrow. May I see where they sleep?" The woman paused like a jeweler holding a stone to the light. She nodded once. "Tomorrow." Morning scrubbed the sky clean. St. Augustine stood at the edge of the road with its straight back and frayed sleeves. The porch boards were honest. The door opened. The same woman, Sister Lila, welcomed them with palms dusted in flour, and eyes that had learned to count both blessings and bills. Children peered around corners. A hallway offered up its quiet museum of useful things: Mismatched mugs, a jar of buttons, a row of shoes promising to be the right size if you asked. Nicely. Jimmy and Nora led the way as if giving a tour of a fragile kingdom. "This one squeaks," Nora said, patting a bed frame. "This one remembers everybody's weight," Jimmy added, pressing a tired spring. Sister Lila poured tea that tried to taste like cinnamon and told the truth in simple lines. The diocese had bought the building when cheap looked like stewardship. A factory had closed. 12 new mouths had arrived. Winter had taken 3 fathers and left 3 coats on hooks, like promises no one could keep. Donations came like weather. Laughter came anyway. It always did. The singer listened the way a student listens after discovering a subject he was born to study. He drew bunk beds on a napkin, mattresses that would say welcome instead of maybe, a roof that would stop crying when it rained. "I can cover lumber and mattresses," he said softly. "Let the hats be the start." The manager sighed but didn't argue. Sister Lila looked at him as if weighing more than words, then said, "Come back at noon." He returned to the house as the clock touched 12. Faces pressed to the windows, making small constellations on the glass. He put a hand on the rail and started up the steps when a shout snapped the air. "Fire!" a child cried. In the kitchen, a skillet had flared up when water kissed oil the wrong way. Smoke bit the eyes and tasted like pennies. A teenage girl dragged a rug to smother the heat. A boy stood frozen with a basin of water. Sister Lila's voice moved like short prayers. Windows, doors, count, breathe. The singer dropped a lid over. The fire twisted a knob, shoved a door with his shoulder so the smoke could leave the room like a bad story told for the last time. "You all right?" Sister Lila asked, coughing. "Skillet and I had a talk," he said. "Where are your extinguishers?" "On the list," she answered. He looked at the blackened towel, at the brave rug cooling on the rail, at the children lined up trying to look, unafraid. "No more list," he said. "We're going to do." "Between shows?" the manager asked. "Cancel 2, add 1. "Add what?" "A roof raising." Word moved through town like a second kind of weather. Trucks rolled up and released carpenters with hands that knew the grammar of wood. Teenagers came because work can make you bigger from the inside. Mothers arrived with pies that smelled like treaties. Someone's uncle wore a nail apron like a flag. The first step on the ladder is always uncertain. The second one comes with a grin. By the third, the singer had a rhythm. Lift, align, nail, breathe. Gus, a carpenter built like... 2 arguments showed him how nails sit best when they are asked at an angle. "You sing with your throat," Gus said. "Roofs sing with their bones." Children sanded bed rails under the cottonwood tree. Blue paint opened like small lakes. Jimmy worked the sandpaper until the wood felt friendly to the hand. Nora labeled boxes with her tongue between her teeth in triumph. Sheets, pillows, socks. Extra socks, a photographer appeared and lifted his camera. The manager stepped into the frame and pointed him toward the pie table. The man lowered the lens and ended up documenting crusts crimped by 3 generations of patience. Old shingles fell away in ragged plates. The underlayment stretched tight. A new skin. Hammers spoke a simple language even the wind understood. When rain pressed down for 10 minutes, everyone gathered under the eaves and laughed the way relieved people do. Then they went back to work. By dusk, the dormitory smelled of pine and clean promise. New beds stood in lines like a small fleet ready to sail into morning. Children drifted in, their voices hushed, as if the room were a church that had learned to smile. A boy dropped onto a mattress and laughed into his hands. A girl bounced twice and said, "It says my name." The singer reached into his pocket and found the empty envelope. He slid it under Jimmy's pillow. "You're not a letter anymore," he whispered. "You're a signature." Jimmy looked up. "What do I sign?" "Whatever needs a name that means yes." Night settled. Tools leaned against the wall like tired soldiers. Sister Lila turned off lights one by one, each click a quiet blessing. On the steps, the singer and Jimmy sat together and listened to the crickets rehearse the future. "When you leave," Jimmy asked, "does the world forget the song?" "Sometimes," the singer said. "But the good ones keep playing inside your ribs." "This one's loud," Jimmy said. "Good," the singer answered. "That's where it belongs." News traveled as it always does, sideways, faster than truth, loud enough to knock on every door. Headlines tried to fit halos on human heads. Radio hosts performed a little outrage. Mail came by the armful, real letters now, some fat with bills, some thin with stories of childhood flaws and borrowed pillows. A man from the diocese visited, stern and grateful in equal paragraphs. He spoke of insurance and precedent, and pressed a business card into Sister Lila's careful hand. She thanked him and walked the dormitory afterward, counting not to reach a number, but to feel it in the air. One afternoon, a man waited by the gate with a jaw like a shovel. He said his name was Earl Hale. He said he had come for his children. The air cooled, although the sun was high. Sister Lila met him on the porch. Jimmy came to the doorway slow, as if truth could be startled. Nora held his shirt tight. "I heard about the beds," Earl said. "They are safe here," Sister Lila told him. "Didn't come to take what's safe, came to take what's mine." "There's a way to do this," the singer said from the stairs. "Papers. Proof. Time." "You the judge, Gold Jacket?" Earl asked. Jimmy's shoulders lifted and settled. He stepped to the line where porch met yard. "Do you have a bed, sir?" The question landed and stayed. Earl looked past, the boy into the dorm where the new frame stood sky-blue and proud. He scraped his boot on the step. "I've got a room, mostly." "These are also rooms," Sister Lila said, "for as long as they need." Earl nodded as if agreeing with weather. "I'll come back," he said, and left, not like a storm, but like a map folding along a new crease. That evening, the house held a thank-you supper because gratitude likes tables. Planks on sawhorses, checkered cloths, the perfume of food measured by hands, not cups. Carpenters returned in clean shirts. Teenagers leaned against door frames as if they'd invented leaning. Someone brought a battered guitar, and hope that it knew what to do. The singer tuned with his ear and played not a hit, but something round and simple, the kind of song that makes a room breathe together. "Sing like you," he told Jimmy. Nora found the harmony because she always did. When the last note fell away, no one clapped at first. They just let the quiet ring like a bell. Later, in the dormitory, the singer slid a paper into the envelope under Jimmy's pillow. It was not money. It was a contract, quiet and sturdy, signed by a foundation that preferred work to headlines. Beds, repairs, breakfasts, extinguishers. A year with room to continue if roof still cried. "Sign here," he said to Sister Lila. Her hand trembled and steadied. "Why?" she asked. "Because someone gave me a roof once," he answered, "and I don't remember their name." Outside, the car idled. He bent to Jimmy and Nora. "Keep two promises," he said. "Sleep well, and when someone else's roof cries, hear it." Nora saluted. Jimmy nodded, the way boys nod when courage has finally learned their shape from the inside. The house stood under its new skin, sturdy as a chest that had learned to breathe deep. Upstairs, nearly everyone slept. Not completely quiet, not quite. Joy whispers after lights out. For a long time, the envelope stayed under Jimmy's pillow, not because it was empty, but because it wasn't anymore. It had become a place where a boy learned that the right kind of silence, the kind that comes after building, sounds a lot like love.